Well, I don't know about you, but my favorite part of hunting is cooking up that meat. You work hard out there in the field, take great care of that meat. You're the one that knows exactly where it's coming from, and so this is the good part. This is the cooking of it up. No matter what happens in the kitchen, you really have to make sure that things were taken care of in the field. You want that animal to be taken care of properly, cooled down, processed properly. So 2 ways, in my opinion, to cook wild game. One is hot and fast, and the other is low and slow. You want to stay away from that middle ground. You want to stay away from somebody saying, I want my elk steak medium. You're just not going to optimize the flavors and the textures of that meat. So the cuts that you're going to want to cook hot and fast, those are the more tender cuts. Your tenderloin, your backstrap, and some of your tender roast cuts. And you can do many different things, from the grill to the frying pan with those hot and fast methods. Whether you're cooking your backstrap or your tenderloin whole, that is one method to do it. You can put a marinade to this if you want to put it on the grill or if you want to sear it on a griddle. And one key when you're doing whole backstraps, don't be afraid to use your cooking thermometer. Take that meat off of there at 125, 130 degrees. It's not going to take very much cooking at all. You want to serve it medium rare, and you'll be very pleased with the flavors and the textures that come out of that. If you want to do steaks out of your backstrap and your tenderloin, or little chunks, again, you want to be hot and fast method. Cast iron skillet, hot griddle. You can put a little rub to it if you want to, depending on what flavors you're going for, whether it's a stir fry with Asian flavors or fajitas with some really good Southwestern flavors in there. You want to make sure, again, hot and fast. It just takes minutes. If you want to make steaks out of the roasts, you're going to want to cut those a little thicker, maybe up to 1 inch, and then pounding those out so you can just flash cook them. Flash grill, flash fry, just a flash cook in your cast iron skillet. And that's the best way to enjoy those tender cuts of meat. So on to the cuts of meat that are going to benefit from low and slow. Now those will be your larger roasts that you're going to want to use a slow cooker or a crock pot or a Dutch oven or a roaster in your oven. Again, you just want to keep that cooking temperature under 300 degrees. You want that slow so the meat does not overcook. Overcooked game meat is where you get flavors that people don't like. They say, oh, it tastes gamey. That's just because many times it's been overcooked. So cuts other than roasts that you're going to want to slow cook. The neck meat, we'll butcher these off of the deer or the elk, and we'll put them in sizes that are comparable to a roast. Whatever fits our crock pot, we'll cut that. And then we're going to put flavors to that during the cooking process. One of my favorite things to put with this lean game meat is coconut milk. This is a high-fat product that will basically replace some of the fat that's not in wild game. It's going to give it a much more moist texture, keep it from drying out in the crock pot. You can just put a can of coconut milk in the crock pot with a roast or neck meat or your shanks, and it doesn't need any additional seasoning, because once that meat is cooked, you can basically shred it up, get rid of any of the extra little tissues that may have been in there. I cool it off a little bit first. And then you can just put your barbecue sauce on there, whatever flavors you want to put on there, put it back in the slow cooker, and you're ready to serve it. You're not really going to taste the coconut flavor. You are just going to benefit from that fat that it put in the meat. So you can season it afterwards. If you want to season it when it goes into the cooker, you can do your coconut milk. Maybe you want to do a little garlic, some ginger, fish sauce, soy sauce, whatever flavors that you enjoy cooking with. There's times where I may just put a neck roast or maybe some shanks right into the crock pot. Maybe I have a half a jar of salsa or something else in my pantry. I'll just put that in there to add moisture and flavor, and it'll be super easy. Put that in there in the morning. When you get home from work, dinner is ready. Some other things you can experiment with, different flavors. Maybe you've got a favorite teriyaki sauce that you want to put in there. But I like to slow cook these roasts, the necks, and also the shanks. We're treating them just like we did the roast, just like we did the neck. We're putting them in there with some seasonings, and we're letting the slow cooker do the work. So whatever flavors you like, you can experiment, and they will be ready to go. Other methods of cooking game, your soups and your stews, those are also low and slow methods. And with those, depending on the cut you have, perhaps your stew meat, You put it in there, and after an hour, it's tender, it's ready to eat. If it's not, it just needs a little more cooking. And so cook those stews. People say, when is the stew done? Well, it's done when the meat is tender. So some of the tougher cuts, you may need a little more time with that. Now, I have been cooking up some steaks, expecting to just flash fry them in the pan. I get interrupted, and I come back and I realize those have cooked to medium. What am I gonna do? They're gonna be tough. Well, you know what? You can add a little bit of liquid, some coconut milk, some beef broth, some salsa, any kind of liquid, marinara sauce. Add that liquid to your pan, put the lid on, cook it another half hour, 45 minutes. Now you've turned that into a low and slow meal. So whether it's hot and fast, low and slow, there's a lot of ways that you can fix those. You're gonna get better at it. If you're new to cooking wild game, I suggest cook it every night of the week. You start on a Monday, you're gonna be better at it by Friday. One of the most forgiving cuts, and that is with a burger. You can usually use venison burger just about any way you could use beef burger. Just remember, it does not have the fat. So it does not need as much time in the frying pan. It does not need as much time on the grill. If you want those burgers to stick together better, you can add a little bit of hamburger, or you can add a little bit of pork to that to get those burgers to stick together. If I'm making a meatloaf, maybe I'll throw an egg in this ground venison, and that'll work out really well. Lots of different ways to enjoy this meat, lots of different ways to cook it. Experiment, have a good time, and take advantage of this free-range organic meat that's available for everyone.